Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are coming out of our recess. The board opened at 6 p.m. This evening. And we had Mr. Barros here to witness that and ensure that we did it properly, and I believe we earned a thumbs up, Mr. Barros. All right. As you can see, Mr. Holmes is not here with us tonight. I'm going to open the meeting and ask everybody to take a brief moment of silence. We lost a very dedicated volunteer. Martha Strahan unfortunately passed away. She served us currently on the Library Board of Trustees and the Council on Aging Board. And her dedication will be sorely missed, and her sudden passing has left us quite stunned and shocked. So we express our deepest sympathies to her families and friends, and if we could all take a moment, I would appreciate that. Thank you. So since we've already called the meeting to order and Mr. Slavin, who is our clerk tonight, has already done the roll call, I will move on to announcements. Mr. Slavin.
Wareham Coffee Hour, Mr. White puts on Thursdays at room 225 Multi-Service Center. This week will be Mrs. Judith Whiteside, who's running for the unopposed expired term of the Board of Selectmen, and Mr. Frank D. Felice, who's running, one of the candidates running for the 3-year term of the Board of Selectmen. It will be at 9 a.m. Bob serves donuts and coffee. There's no charge. Next on the agenda, the Wareham Historical Society has their monthly event on the 18th of March on Main Street at the Methodist Meeting Hall. And we're going to have an event called Bold Irish Need Not Apply. It's a history of the Irish in the United States starting around the 1700s. And the gentleman is Christopher Daly, who's very well known in presenting these particular explanations and lectures. And he's been at it for quite a while. Christopher Daly is a history teacher, historian, and writer and lecturer. He has been lecturing to historical societies, museums, and public libraries for over 20 years. And that's all I have right now. Mr. Title I.
I have no announcements this evening.
Madam Temp Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. I will open the floor to citizens' participation. Is there any citizen here this evening that would like to speak with the board? Mrs. Slavin, please come on up.
Thank you, and I know to speak right into the microphone.
Please, 3 to 10 inches away and make sure the green light is on.
Unlike your husband.
Good evening, Sandy Slavin. Saturday, I attended a meeting of the Selectmen, and in which some of the articles that were being presented by CPC were discussed. Last week in this meeting, the BOS meeting, it was said that you'd have a discussion with departments, committees, boards, commissions, etc., regarding their articles, but that no vote would be taken. I was quite surprised on Saturday when a vote was taken, and I honestly don't know what the vote was for. It is my understanding that the Selectmen takes 2 votes. One, to see if the article will be carried forward to the town meeting. And 2, whether or not the Selectmen approve of the particular article. So I'm not sure what that vote on Saturday was about.
Mrs. Slavin, if I may clarify for you, the Board of Selectmen, when it officially closes the warrant, would remove any articles that were not proper or in proper form. It's my understanding that many of the articles that are placed on town meeting warrant cannot be removed by the Board of Selectmen. The votes that were taken on Saturday, about 3 years ago when I first sat on the board, it was decided that all votes would be taken as favorable action. So the motions were for favorable action, and those will be the recommendations by the board that are printed in the warrant.
So the vote was to show support or not support of a particular article being carried forward, whether or not funds were available or not. You voted on carrying the article to town meeting floor.
Correct. Well, no, let me restate that. No, that's not correct. We were voting our recommendation.
Your support of an article.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
your support of an article, yay, up or down.
Up or down, right.
Okay.
But the phrase is always framed as favorable action.
I understand that.
Okay.
So, yes. Yes, I noticed why several years ago you went to a consistent framing of the particular question so it becomes less confusing on the floor.
Right.
Now, I don't know whether or not anybody noticed the agenda coming up for the Wareham Historical Commission, but I know we've had a particular citizen who's been in front of you many times talking about pretty bad-looking buildings in town. And I just thought the public should know that there is a demo request to take care of a house down on 12th Street in Onset, which is one of a pet peeve of one that was looking pretty bad, and a request to demo the Greer buildings on Lower Main Street, just in case someone would like to go to that demo meeting at the Historical Commission. About last year, maybe about 10 months ago, this board talked about totally reviewing all of their policies and procedures. I know that you've had 4 policies on the agenda every once in a while, and I notice they disappeared again this week. I know the last week you talked about tabling a particular policy on recording for, 60 days? It was tabled for that, okay. Now, one of the reasons there was a discussion about keeping it so that minutes can be taken. I know that every one of the selectmen are liaisons to committees. My question to the liaisons, how current are your boards, committees, and commissions with their minutes?
Mrs. Slavin, if I might, is there anybody else who wants to address this? I don't want to be a microphone hog here.
And Alan doesn't want to talk to me on this.
No, I can very simply say that the committees are not all up to date. We have some issues that we need to resolve.
Even though they're recording, they're still not up to date.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Tuttle.
I just wanted to go back to the first question Mrs. Slavin had regarding what votes we took on Saturday. Every vote we took was for favorable action. However, I think we are going to have to go back at some point, whether it's after we go through the petitioner's articles or what have you, and have a second vote to put these on a town meeting warrant, because I believe it's a legislative requirement in the general laws that there's a specific vote to put things on the warrant. And I don't want to run afoul of that, because I can envision a scenario going forward where we haven't voted specifically to put Article 1, 2, 3, 10, whatever on the warrant. We go through town meeting, we do something somebody doesn't like, and they challenge the entire town meeting on the basis that the selectmen did not properly close the warrant by including all the articles. So I would ask Attorney Bowen to weigh in on that, but that's kind of how I see it.
Well, just to clarify the beginning of my statement, and Attorney Bowen is certainly welcome to chime in, when the Board of Selectmen closes the warrant, that's inclusive of all the articles that are on there. Our only opportunity to remove an article is prior to closing the warrant. That's how it's always been explained in the past.
I seem to recall for the fall town meeting warrant that in early September, when the warrant closed, we did in fact read at least the descriptor of the article and the number, if nothing else, into the record. And we did take votes on inclusion. And of course, everything was included. I don't think there was anything we tried to stop. But that was well before our favorable action votes that took place in October in advance of town meeting. So, because I'm just trying to figure this out in my mind as a timeline. It seems to me that, we've got step 1, which is put it on the warrant, step 2, which is favorable action. It seems to me that we reversed it up this time,
Well,
at
no,
least in the actual doing of it.
I think, well, first of all, I think we're going to start treading in some gray area here if we continue this conversation, but the past couple town meetings, we've missed the print date on the favorable actions because we've delayed it. So I think the purpose of Saturday's meeting was to try and make sure that we got that information and have those votes. But Attorney Bowen, if you want to chime in on the issue of the closing of the warrant and the inclusion quickly, so we can get that clarified for everybody. And
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Selectmen's control of the warrant is based on Chapter 39, Section 10. Chapter 39, Section 10 has two broad categories of articles. Articles that are placed on the warrant by the Selectmen, and articles that are placed on the warrant by virtue of gathering a sufficient number of signatures. As to the latter category, the Selectmen have no discretion not to include such articles, because if they meet the threshold, they're on. But as to the first category, I'm going to speak in terms of best practices. The best practice is for the Board of Selectmen to decide which articles it wants to include on the warrant, regardless of which department has submitted them. And it therefore might be appropriate to have the board offer motions such as, I move to place articles or the proposals from this department, that department, and this department on the warrant, vote it, and then perhaps have a separate vote. I move not to place such and such an article on the warrant. Now, that avoids a situation where you're at a town meeting, and I recollect that this perhaps happened in the fall, where the Board of Selectmen becomes really the unwitting bearer of an article that it really didn't develop, really didn't support, and perhaps with a more vigorous approach might have decided not to include in the warrant at all. Now, I'm purely speaking in terms of best practices. There are many other practices that I've seen in many communities and certainly could defend, but my recommendation would be to go through a two or even a three-step process of deciding which of the non-discretionary articles, or I should say which of the discretionary articles must go on the warrant by making the appropriate motions, and then take a vote regarding whether you support them in what quantum, and then at a subsequent meeting go through the motions and actually decide who will be making the motions on the particular articles. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm almost done. Spring has come almost. My crocuses are popping their heads. The snow is melting along the side of the road, and I still see no reference on the town website regarding the litter committee. I can't see it listed, so I don't know when they're meeting or anything like that, so we got shit all over the roads again, and
well, Mrs. Slavin, we're on TV.
Yes.
We have children watching.
Yes, and that's what you find on the side of the road. So it's really garbage that has to be thrown, and we've got to get working on doing something to get this cleaned up. And the last thing is that Mrs. Begley was working with Guy Campina on doing the reviewing all the policies for the wastewater treatment center, and I was wondering where that stood after she left. Who was picking that up to review his policies?
Somebody dropped their change on the floor. I was just trying to, other side.
So I was wondering if somebody was picking that up to help the wastewater treatment center to review their policies.
Can I just address the litter thing first? Mr. Town Administrator, would you please make sure that that gets on the website and that those meetings are occurring, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Tedema.
With regard to what Mrs. Begley's involvement with the sewer department, she was acting in her capacity as the liaison to that department. And we had a discussion here, I want to say a couple of meetings ago, about whether we were going to fill the vacancies, the liaison vacancies she left behind with the current board. And I think the sentiment was that we were going to wait until after the election when we were back to a full board. So for a couple of months here, we're operating with that not occurring because the person, the liaison, is gone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Slavin. Is there anybody else that wants to address the board? Okay, seeing no hands, and the hour of 7:15 is upon us. Mr. Clerk, I do believe we have, well, actually, why don't you get through the consent agenda and then we'll hit the hearing, please. No, but I think you just got to announce that.
Madam Chair, we have no bills signed at this particular point.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
We have a hearing at 7:15, application for Wareham Liquors, 419 Main Street, Wareham, for the liquor license transfer upon the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138. And it doesn't tell us who.
That clock is slow.
Slow.
7:16. Yeah, no,
Change the clock.
no, but I need a motion to open the hearing, please. When you're ready.
Motion so made to open the hearing.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstained? 300, the hearing is opened. Is there anybody here from Wareham Liquors, 419 Main Street? Good evening. Please
Good
state
evening,
your name for the record, sir.
My name is Dasrat Patel, and I'm here for Wareham. I'm buying Wareham Liquor, 419 Main Street,
Yes.
transferring a liquor license from Narnaran Liquor Inc.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Slavin?
Madam Chair, there's a note about the tips, says needs tips.
Tips, we do require tip certification.
Yes.
Do you have your tip certification?
Not yet. I mean, when you guys approve, then I'm gonna have tips and
Well,
whoever work with us.
the practice of this board has been that we're gonna approve subject to you obtaining that. You're not gonna be able to pick up your license until you give us that certificate.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, I just wanna make sure you're clear on that. Mr. Slavin, any other?
One question would be the change in ownership. Is there any, on the ownership itself, is it all to one party? Is there any holding of papers for the prior owner of the license?
No,
Okay, so there's no full financials going to the new owners? There's no loans out, there's no loans going back holding the license or anything else?
no.
Thank you.
Does that conclude your questions, Mr. Slavin?
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum?
Okay, that was what I wanted to know. So there's been no pledging of the license, so we're good with that.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is an open public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for or against the proposal? Hearing no public comment, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstained? 300. Okay. Mr. Clerk, Mr. Titlebaum, what is the pleasure of the board this evening?
I would suggest we go ahead and vote approval conditional upon the receiving of the tip certification.
Okay, so please include that in the motion, that the license, that's how we've been doing it, Attorney Bowen, right? So we're good like that to continue doing it? I know there's been a lot of changes.
Madam Chairman, if I may, perhaps the motion would be to approve the license, and that's what would go up to the ABCC, but to make it clear to the applicant by perhaps a separate motion that wouldn't go up to the ABCC, that the license will not be handed over to him until he hands over a certificate of TIPS certification. Thank you.
Two motions.
Two motions.
Okay.
Second on the first one.
I think we need to state it for the record. Because we're doing two and one goes to the ABCC. Sorry.
Make a motion that we go ahead and approve the transfer of ownership to Emmet Joet Corporation, DBA Wareham Liquors.
Did I hear it? Was there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300.
And we want a motion that the license is basically going to have to have the TIPS training in place.
Do you want me to make it? Was that your motion?
Yeah.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300. Thank you, sir. So we will send this information up to the ABCC,
Okay.
but we have conditioned the pickup of your license to producing your TIPS training.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night. Mr. Clerk?
We have an application for a one-day wine and malt beverage license for the Foundation for Wareham Educational, care of a William Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you. Come out.
Sir, please state your business before the board.
It's William Ellis. I'm a board member of the Foundation for Wareham Education. And we're applying for the one-day liquor license for May 17th from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., I believe is what was on the license. At Makepeace Box Mill Hall on Tyhonet Road. We had the same function last year. It's a wine tasting, and I think they brought some microbrew beers in. And it's going to be the Taste of Wareham. Basically, last year there was Charlie's Place, Lindsay's, Bailey's, Franca's Brick Oven Pizza, and there was a few other ones. I just don't have them on my list tonight. And they're going to be each restaurant will be bringing in one of their specialties, whether it's chowder or pizza or baked ziti, and we'll have a display of wines for people to taste. And as far as the tip certified, Harry from Charlie's Place has helped us before. He'll be bartending again. I'll be there. I'm sure somebody from Lindsay's and Bailey's will be there. And I will get my tip certification if I need it, but I figured, Harry's done it before for us, and he's already got it.
Okay. Gentlemen, I'm just going to ask Attorney Bowen a question, if you don't mind, before I get on to yours. I think we had this come before us last year. We can give this one day to somebody that doesn't have the tips training, correct? But they're fully responsible regardless. Is that how it works? I just want to be clear. Especially because I want Mr. Ellis to understand what he's undertaking with his name on
Yes,
this.
no, I know. Last year I undertook the same thing. And like I said,
Okay.
Harry from Charlie's Place was there, and a couple other bartenders from Lindsay's and Bailey's were also there to serve.
Okay.
With your permission, yes, Madam Chairman, you're correct. Getting a liquor license for one day or 365 days is a serious obligation, as I'm sure you know.
Yes,
and perhaps one thing that you will want to look into would be obtaining some sort of liquor liability insurance that would cover your one-day event and protect you from perhaps unfortunate consequences that could arise.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Mr. Slavin, I believe. Oh, no, wait. Did you go first last time?
I have a question on the forms.
Okay.
Mr. Ellis, we have a form showing your application at the Honet Box Mill. Unfortunately, I'm looking at our approval of special license, and the description of licensed premises says 19 Bay Point Drive, Onset.
Okay. You know what I think happened is that's where you did it last year, right?
No.
No.
No, they did it at the Box Mill.
We
Oh, they
did
did?
it at the Box Mill. And
I was there. The application is correct. It says on their application here.
Okay.
But
So
what we've
there's
printed out
there's a
is-
Scribner's error. So what will have to happen?
Can we cross it out, or we have to redo it?
No, I think the office is going to have to redo it, and then we'll just have to try and get there and sign it this week. Is that okay?
yeah, that's fine. Like I said, this isn't till May 17th.
Yeah. I'll be in the office on Friday. So, Mr. Sullivan, if you wouldn't mind, I know you're very busy. Little babies keep you busy, but if you could make sure that the girls get that taken care of so it can be signed, so Mr. Ellis, will be able to.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Slavin?
None.
Okay. Mr. Titlebaum? Okay. Hearing no questions, do you want to give us the elevator speech on what the Wareham Foundation for Education is? We are a very well-watched show.
Yes. What we do is we raise funds and we help out different teachers, and we give them grants for projects that's not in the school budget, whether it's field trips, art supplies, even papers, some of the other things we give them, notebooks. They were looking at some computers, stuff like that, and all the money we have that we raise goes to that. And I think last year we gave out a dozen scholarships, I believe. Not scholarships, but grants for different things.
Great. I remember one of their first events was a sock hop they did over in the lobby of the high
Yes.
school. I made the cake for it, and I think there was a total of 14 people that
Yes,
showed
there
up.
was. The wine tasting thing at the Box Mill Hall is a lot better.
Yeah, it's come a long way. Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, all our volunteers, all the board members, we donate time, we donate money, energy and effort into everything, because it all goes back to the school systems
Great.
for the kids.
Well, we appreciate the efforts of the many, many groups in the community that work hard to, to benefit other individuals and organizations in the schools. So, any other?
Ready to make a motion?
That's your job.
Thank you. Make a motion to go ahead and approve the one-day special license for the Wareham Educational Foundation, the Foundation for Wareham Education, sorry. Friday, May 17th, from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Tohonet Box Mill.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments, questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace, gentlemen. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 300. Mr. Ellis, we will have the office call you and let you know when those papers are ready.
Okay, that's fine. Like I said, this not for
Okay.
a couple of months, and next week, or if it's 2 weeks, that's fine too.
We'll get it taken care of so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Mr. Clerk? If you want to take any of that out of order, then you can go ahead.
Campina is here. Let's have Guy come up. I'm sure he's had a long day already.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Bowen, and Derek. I have sent some paperwork to the board in regards to a certificate of compliance, which is the last, one of the things that we need to submit our RFQ for the solar panels. The Department of Energy requires that we send this as part of the package. And in the description sent from Ryan Fahey, which is from the Cadmus Group, who's our consultant in this matter, states the things that we need. And it's one of the things we need is the certificate of compliance. And what it does is it verifies that everything that we need is in the RFQ, that we have 2 years of data, and then the address where it's going to be, the project's going to take place and the buildings it's going to affect. So what I'm asking the board is to have the certificate of compliance filled out, signed, and then I'll include it into the package. It goes to the Department of Energy. Then they review it, and they approve us to move forward, or they deny us with specifics that they want to see done. And then we go through the process again. And once that's completed, then we have to take the RFQ, update it for dates, make it date sensitive, and then get it out for bids. So what I'm asking is certificate of compliance be filled out, signed by the board, and it has to be the chairman of the board, and then we can move forward. So that's why I'm here this evening.
Okay. Mr. Titlebaum, any questions?
When do you need this done by, Mr. Campina?
Well, the sooner the better. And I don't know if acting as a chair, you could do it tonight. I'm not so sure how the board does this, or does Mr. Holm have to do it? That's the board's decision. But the sooner I get it, the better I can get it to the Department of Energy. They can review it, get back to us, and then we can get that done. So that I would. As
You're
soon as
not
I
you're
can.
not confronted with a Friday this week deadline, though.
No,
Okay.
sir. No, sir. No, sir. Thursday. Just kidding.
As long as it can wait. And we can ask Attorney Bowen, but it's already typed up.
Yeah, it will have to wait until Chairman Holmes is back. It's all filled out in Chairman Holmes' name on the
Oh,
form.
okay. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Well, then that's
Beat
the
you
way
to
it
the
is.
punch.
I've gone through, Guy, the application, the information from before, so everything is the same, so I have no questions at all on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that all the questions, gentlemen? Okay. Mr. Clerk? Might I have a motion, please?
Make a motion, go ahead and have the chairman sign the required forms, go ahead with the RFP for the solar project.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Slavin, seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 300. Thank you very much, Mr. Campina.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good job.
If, Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to take out of order, bring up future generation wind so they can come up and they can go home.
Absolutely, Mr. Clerk, thank you. Welcome, gentlemen.
Great, thanks for having us. My name's Keith Mann. I have with me Carlos Pineda, who's the project manager. I wanted to give a quick update, recap of where we are, how we got here, and what we hope to discuss. Back in August, we had forwarded to the Selectmen a PPA for our project for review, and in the fall, we made a presentation here. I made a presentation here regarding a deal for a net metering credit deal, which we have entered into with towns of Marion, Rochester, Old Rochester School District. Since then, we've also entered into the same agreement with Upper Cape Tech, Old Colonies, to sign on soon as well. They voted to sign on too. Back at town meeting, made a presentation there as well. There was an article that was supported authorizing the Selectmen to enter into a net metering agreement with renewable energy projects. So the board has the authority to enter into agreement. Also, since then, the Instar G1 rate has actually increased based on the deal structure that we've offered. The higher G1 rate gives the town larger discounts. So the deal has gotten a little better just by the fact of the nature of changing of electric rates. At town meeting, the offer is about, on average, over the course of the life of the contract, it was just over 24% savings to the town. Now it's over 27% savings to the town. We're also in advanced stages of discussion with a couple other large local municipalities. We expect to be closing with those soon, and we'll probably be fully subscribed. So we come back to the board. There was interest at that time to enter into something. I understand that at this point the board has also has entered into agreement with a solar project. I know there was some discussion about the cap the town has. The town is capped to limited to how many net metering credits they can work with. In our deal, that cap won't apply because all of our net metering credits are under the town of Marion's cap. They're the host customer. So that's not a concern for the town. So I guess we're in front of you today to discuss what the next steps are, what the interest is, in order to enter agreement if the board so wishes to do. And I have Carlos Pineda, which is the expert in the area, could answer any technical questions, and we'll do the best we can to move forward.
Mr. Slavin, Attorney Bowen also has a question. Would you? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Great. Just for the audience and also the people listening at home on TV, we had originally at fall town meeting allowed the Board of Selectmen to engage in alternative energy sources, and it could be solar or wind power. I want people to understand the wind power is not being built in Wareham. It exists somewhere else. We're just buying what they call net metering credits is how it works. So there is no wind turbines going in Wareham. So I want to eliminate that right off the bat. The issue came up in that somehow or another, I believe we had a communication problem, and we never got back to this particular gentleman, and we went ahead with our solar project. And I think there was some confusion on the wind power project if there was going to be a delay or not. The bottom line is that Marion has gone ahead and made a commitment. They don't have very much. They're allowed 10 megawatts as we are. They don't have a need for very much, so therefore there's excess capacity. We're trying to find out and get a confirmation on we're committed to 6 for the solar project, and the solar project is on schedule. We checked into that to make sure that was correct. We have approximately, I don't know if guys still here, 1.9 megawatts for the project for the water pollution control facility, which brings us up just a hair under 8 megawatts. We're allowed 10, but I'm trying to get some information to make sure that we're allowed to, with a 10, that we actually have usage of 10 megawatts in order to have credits against it. I don't believe you can apply for more credits than you have actual usage. So we're trying to get that final figured out in. If we do have credits, then left over we can go ahead and purchase and actually add it into Marion's total, even though we max out at 10. We could go ahead and buy 1 or 2 more.
Attorney Bowen, please turn on your microphone.
quite right. And if I may piggyback on Selectman Slavin's question, so Marion's the host. We would be getting credits through their allocation. And I guess the question that I've been looking into and was talking with DOER about today was whether before we could enter into a host agreement with another town, for example, in this case Marion, would we have to deplete our full allocation of 10 before we could start drawing on others? And you're shaking your head saying no.
Yeah, this is technically a net metering purchase agreement, and it's the agreement would actually be with Future Generation Wind, and then but we have rights through our agreement with Marion to cause the allocation to apply to other public entities. And we've looked at this question before, and no, you do not have to go to your 10 megawatt cap before you contract with others. You're free to do this transaction if you so choose.
All the other customers that have signed on so far are in the same shoes. None of them are going to be at their cap when they're signing on with us.
In terms of any further, follow up on that, we can provide, our counsel and other legal experts if there's any questions on that to just kind of get into the specifics of the rules.
Yeah, with your permission, Madam Chairman, if we're going forward with this, I'd love the opportunity to work with them because I know the at least up to this point, I think that the assignment through the host community is, I think, rare, but I'd love to hear more about it.
Right, absolutely.
At this point, Madam Chair, what I would ask if we could go ahead and assign a town administrator to go ahead and work on getting the information to finalize what we can do, so when it comes back to the board, we can make a decision how to move forward within a short period of time. I believe we only have about a 1 month window before opportunity is not available.
Okay, but before you make a motion, Mr. Clerk, Mr. Titlebaum, did you have any comment or question?
No, the only thing I was going to bring up was I was wondering if there was any issue with our capacity and our fire and water district capacity, because as I understand, they're also contemplating a solar project. And is that going to have any influence upon what we can purchase from you, what we can purchase from you through Marion, et cetera, et cetera? So,
if memory serves me, and it doesn't always these days, the districts are a separate entity from the town. And
they are separate political entities, but I just want to make sure that in this circumstance, for some reason, the state isn't lumping them in with us. That's the one question I did sort of have.
Probably not going to get an answer to that tonight, but what I do know is that if they seek an agreement, and there's been, some talk that they're interested, that would be an agreement between them and Future Wind. There's no way for them to...
Oh, they wouldn't be able to siphon off of us, I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm just worried that they're looking at it not just in terms of town government allocations, but rather an entire town itself, well, not even a municipality, but rather within the borders of the town of Wareham. Is the 10 megawatt limit incumbent just upon the town side of things, or is it incumbent upon every governmental entity within the town?
If I may, Madam Chairwoman.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Generally, the PPAs are directly between the distinct public entities, and so. But I think you're getting to exactly the right point, all of you, in that what you need to look at is the town's load. The other districts would be separate, so you want to make sure you don't mix up their load with your load, but look at particularly usage at the town, see what's been assigned to the solar project and the other projects, and whatever's left over, because you can purchase as many net metering credits as you'd like, but you definitely don't want to purchase more than what you're going to use, because then you're going to end up with something that you can't use, paying too much for it.
So could I make this request of you gentlemen, along with our council and our town administrator? Can we try and get an answer, a firm answer to that question in the next few weeks before we, not because it really impacts what we're doing, but I know that there's been, this is going to become something that comes up. So I want to make sure that as we move forward in this direction, we're doing it in the best interest of all the citizens of Wareham. Absolutely.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Sorry, sir.
As I understand the question, it's is the cap based on the geographical entity known as the town of Wareham, or does the cap track to particular governmental units as may be located within the geographical entity known as the town of Wareham?
Correct.
And then the most important part is, what is our actual usage? Because we can have 10 megawatts, but if we only use 7.3, it's a loss for the town to enter in the
Yeah, then we're gonna
agreement.
wind up in the power reselling business, and I don't think they were quite
Yeah.
qualified to do that.
So
If I
that
may.
would be, that would be,
Given
Permission, sir.
given the given the fact that our contract would not count against any cap, I mean, you can investigate whether the caps are discrete or not. I don't know the answer to that question. I would imagine they're separate, but given that this contract doesn't count against the cap, you probably don't need to worry too much about that. The real question, as we've said, is usage, and just making sure that you're right there. And generally, what we do is we work with the town administrators to get the copies of the utility bills, review those, and then we'll make a recommendation based on how much usage you have, less whatever you're using for other purposes, on what would be an appropriate allocation. Provide you that analysis, and then you make that decision.
Are there any other comments or questions before we entertain a motion from our clerk? Go ahead.
Make a motion that we, through town council and through town administrator, to answer the questions we have as far as our total usage as of right now versus what our cap is allowed, and to come back to the Board of Selectmen with that information so we can make a decision on the project.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Slavin, seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 300. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Keith. Oops. Next item up is a policy for a Springtown meeting date. There was some confusion as far as the start date to count on the timeframes, and we had a citizen issue I won't say a complaint, but a concern that he thought we were working off the wrong time frame. So we've written a policy. I'll read it. The date used for triggering the start of Wareham's Springtown meeting is the first Tuesday in the month of April, as outlined in the charter and bylaws. All dates for filings, reports, meetings, etc., as required by charter and bylaws in conjunction with Springtown meeting will commence from the first Tuesday in the month of April. And basically, this policy would take effective for next year because we're already into this particular Springtown meeting.
Madam Chair, I would respectfully suggest that we have our town moderator here. She may have something to offer on this, one way or the other, but I just wanted to touch base. And
Madam Chair. Just for information, myself, the moderator, town council, and the person who actually brought up the issue itself sat down and went over this for about a couple hours last week.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin is correct that we did meet and went over, and actually, by virtue of our charter, that is the starting date of town meeting. Along with that, if you look in the Mass General Laws, I believe it's Chapter 39, and I'm not sure if it's Section 9 or 9A. It lays out very clearly that if you have an election that falls within 35 days of your annual town meeting, that election becomes part of your warrant and therefore is part of and considered the first day of town meeting.
well, with that in mind, it seems to me that this policy that we've written, I don't know that it necessarily in and of itself accomplishes anything. My understanding is that these issues arise as to when town meeting starts, whether it's with Article 1, which is our election, which I think I certainly agree with, and it sounds as though you and the people who participated in your meeting also agree with that. But there are others, and I believe our town clerk is one of them, who believe that that you count backwards from the date the actual town meeting itself, in the form of showing up at the middle school and hearing the warrant articles begin. So that's where, just so people know, that's where sort of the question arises. from what I understand from prior discussions, I thought that the issue of whether there's a selectman's policy or not, that's not necessarily going to solve the different opinion of the clerk with regard to publication dates and everything else, which is something she's concerned with. And so it occurs to me that perhaps the best thing to do is to look at the town charter and come up with a charter revision that would more clearly state that and would be incumbent upon all town departments and not just the executive in the form of the selectmen and then the clerk not having anything to do with what we do here. So I don't know what the board thinks about that, but that's kind of my sense of where we need to go. Again, we've got some time to do this. If we did a charter change, it would take place in the fall for next spring. We've already set the deadlines for this spring's town meeting. And so, you know, there's no need for us, I think, to rush through a policy from this board or through this board to accomplish anything at this point.
When we discussed this, this is one of the things we talked about originally, but we felt that if this policy just reaffirms the charter and bylaws, the Board of Selectmen, if you go through this book that back in 1988 most of these were put through, they reaffirmed the charter and bylaws because a lot of times we forget what's there and we just don't follow it. It's really black and white what we're supposed to do. It was discussed and we felt this was the best way. If we go into 2014 town meeting and we still have issues with dates and timing, it's not working well at that point there, we probably should put together a committee to go ahead for the fall town meeting of 2014 with an actual charter change, which is a little more difficult than just a simple policy. But the feeling was that this policy would just correct the issue and then see how it works for the town meeting in 2014 and then go from there. If there's still an issue, then we go fix it.
Mr. Titlebaum, I'm going to let you make your comment, but just so you gentlemen know, I think that we're going to hold off taking a vote on this until all four selectmen are present.
That's fine.
Okay.
No, and I would suggest that anyway, that any simply ministerial steps we hold off on. Well, I wouldn't be opposed to signing on to a policy like this. I just, you know, I do have concerns that it solves all of the problem. I think it addresses the problem within this room and clarifies things, but I think going forward as a global solution for the town, I think I actually would want to look to a charter change.
Any further comments from Mr. Slavin or Mr. Titlebaum? Okay. My suggestion is going to be, Mr. Town Administrator, that when discussing this with Mr. Chair, putting it on the agenda that we invite both Madam Moderator and Madam Clerk to the meeting so that all parties are present, and we wait until Attorney Bowen is back from his vacation, wherever he's going somewhere. So,
Yeah.
Okay, we all in agreement on that? Just
Yeah, it makes no effect, but we're already we're out of sync right now anyways for 2013, so it doesn't matter anyways.
Right. But are we all on board with asking Mr. Chair to invite those parties and ensure that we
Absolutely.
have all the voices in the room so we can? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
That's fine.
All right, good. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you.
Next item is going to be the preliminary discussion on department submitted warrant articles.
Okay. This was supposed to be a conversation about Mr. Town Administrator's warrant articles, I believe. However, again, we're missing one of our board members, and because we have time, just so the general public understands, if we have time on an item, then we really should do our best to make sure that all board members are present to hear and comment on the issues. So with no objection from my other colleagues, then I would say that this should be carried over. We do have, Mr. Town Administrator, a couple articles from Upper Cape and a couple from the school department. And so we may want, when we do this article, we may want to see it. I mean, when we do this agenda item, we may want to see if we can get everybody here for that night. I sent out an email last night that listed everything that had been accomplished and everything that was still open, and I put the departments on the email because you weren't here.
No, I understand that. So you like, I guess, Mr. Chairman would put them on the agenda, just notify them for whichever night they're coming on.
Well, I think what I'm requesting is that when when you're speaking with him about this agenda item, if we can get it all wrapped, unless there's an objection from Mr. Slavin or Mr. Titlebaum, because there's really very few articles left, and they're all money articles, to accept the citizens' petitions, which doesn't matter what we vote. I mean, they do matter, but we
can't control, we don't control those.
right. So if we invite them in to explain, which we should, so they have an opportunity, but we have time on that also. So that would be my suggestion. So maybe we could just get a consensus of the board.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
I agree, especially where, one of them is the budget article. I think that's kind of a biggie. I don't want to discuss that without the chairman here.
Yeah, no, it's not fair to him, and we're not under any pressure. All the items that we acted on this evening needed to be acted on tonight. So if we have time, we should use our time wisely. Okay, Mr. Clerk?
Town administrators report.
Okay, now this is about the town. It's not about baby Nora, although you can tell everybody how awesome she is. I'll let you do the elevator speech on being a new dad.
Oh, no, just everybody knows how, I think that's been apparent, knows how amazing it is, so.
It's absolutely. Did everybody
Yeah.
notice how elated he looks? I mean, can you just see it in his eyes? It's fabulous. We should all give him a round of applause.
I think that's the adrenaline in the eyes, so.
And he showed up, and his little girl's only, what, a week old?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
a week old today,
week
huh?
old today.
You want me to sing happy week old birthday?
You could, she would appreciate
No,
that.
no, the public would never watch us again.
Jeez, I don't know, all this baby talk, I think you found a babysitter over there.
Huh? We might have to make that happen.
Absolutely. You can bring her anytime. Babies are great. Once they start walking and talking, though. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Whole new ball game. Monday, this upcoming Monday, March 11th at 8:30 a.m. at the Wareham Free Library, the Inspector General's office will be holding a procurement class. We have 38 people attending right now from various boards and departments. I know some of the committees that, I don't know if they've sent people but might be interested, is the Finance Committee, Capital Planning as well, and I know the Board of Selectmen, they've requested a member from the Board of Selectmen. This is usually a $500 class per person, so it's great that this has been put together, and the town accountant, or acting town accountant, was the one that finally got all of this together for us, and it's a good step forward for our town to have this there.
Can I suggest that we get a member of the Recycling Committee, Council on Aging, and Library Board of Trustees at least get, because I know that those committees do work, have a good deal of input into procurement, if we could get someone. And also, do we have a member of the, unfortunately, I'm not available on Saturday, but because I'm just hearing about this now, but do we have a member of our board that's available to go and report back to the board?
Monday?
Monday?
Yeah.
I thought he said Saturday.
No, Monday.
Oh, okay. Well, then, yeah, I work on Monday. But
Yeah, I was going to go for that.
you're going to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a procurement, so I thought it'd be helpful.
Yes, no, I just want to make sure one of us is there so that, and can we make sure that we get an update for Tuesday?
I'll send you a report as soon as it's over.
Okay. You'll be typing it while you're there?
I'm typing well up there.
Great, so I just want to thank the acting town accountant for putting that together. Also, the Schedule A that we spoke about, I believe was two weeks ago. The accounting office will be submitting that on Friday, which is ahead of the time frame that we've been thinking. So, which moves on to the town accountant applications. Unfortunately, we've only received 6 applications in total. I don't know if you'd want to act on this while the chairman's away, but I would respectfully ask the member of this board, as well as some others and some employees, that'll be putting together a screening committee for those 6 applications. Will not take very long because of the limited amount.
I don't have a problem acting on that tonight, gentlemen, do you? Because I'd like to get this going. I would definitely be interested in doing that. I do hire people big part of my job for a living. Unless there's an objection, obviously, or either one of you has a burning desire. But the only thing I want to make sure is that we'll be able to do it on Thursdays and Fridays. Otherwise, I'd have to ask one of these gentlemen because I'm committed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Let's put a time together, and then I can base the rest of the committee members off of that time frame.
So what I'd like to do then, gentlemen, is to appoint, if you're going to make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion to appoint Ms. Selectman Winslow as the representative to the board.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Slavin and second by Mr. Titlebaum. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 3-0-0. But I'd also like to appoint an alternate, just in case we're not, because I don't want to hold this up. Okay? So can we get an alternate? Just,
I'll be happy to do that if you want, since I have a background in the county.
I'm fine with that. Mr. Titlebaum, can you?
I move that Selectman Slavin serve as the alternate to the screening committee for the town accountant position.
I'll second out of necessity. Mr. Titlebaum made a motion. Mrs. Winslow seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 3-0-0. So I've just given you my, Mr. Slavin has far more availability than I do. So if that's not a schedule that's going to work, then Mr. Slavin will attend.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
send you both the applications if you don't mind, so in case
Yep.
however
No,
that works out.
that's fine. I don't want my day job to interfere with my.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for taking time. And the final item is that we will have, this week will be the updated budget that I will release to the Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee. So that is the last one for the Town Administrator's Report.
Okay. Do either of you gentlemen have questions or comments for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Slavin?
No, I just look forward to getting the budget to see where we're at and see what we have and what we don't have.
Mr. Titlebaum?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Put everything away. Old people don't remember well. Reports from board members for the different committees. This will be next on the list.
Mr. Titlebaum, we'll start with you. Do you have anything?
Nothing this week.
Mr. Slavin?
Nothing really of any importance. There is a meeting, as Mrs. Slavin mentioned, of the Wareham Historical Commission, and I'm hoping that we'll have a good report back from that meeting. We have a particular person in town that's had a piece of property that's kind of been sitting for a long, long time with a potential project for the town for another stream of revenue. And depending what happens tomorrow, hopefully I'll have some good news for the board come next meeting.
Okay. I don't have anything to report either.
Motion to adjourn.
I just want to make sure Mr. Sullivan or Attorney Bowen don't have anything left before we good? Mr. Titlebaum, you good? Mr. Slavin, you good? No, you can't second the motion.
No.
I think that's a song.
He's not getting his sticker.
No stickers, don't start.
Second.
Oh, motion. Wow. Did you make the motion?
Yeah, he did.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, all right. I have not had enough coffee today.
Yes, sir.
Motion made by Mr. Slavin, seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 3-0-0. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Drive
everybody.
safe.